you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away, as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music. Started a new cartridge in my fountain pen, and it's not...
That has to stay in. The fact that you've just said, obviously the people can't see this, so the fact that you've just said that and then took a sip of coffee out of a glass mug.
Black coffee with brown sugar, yeah.
Nothing like a parody of yourself.
It is a bit. To be fair, one of the films we'll be talking about in a little bit probably is quite a young Andre Gillard, I think. May as well just roll into it. Hello, everybody. Cage fighting. Andy, blah, blah, blah. Hello.
Yeah, behind the scenes again. He got mad on Saturday because I just happened upon the fact that someone at Brighton away was wearing a shirt with Andre 7 on the back. And it's sunk into your mind as well. That's the best thing about it all.
Jeez, when strangers talk about it, I do look around like, what's talking about me? Blame you for it.
It wasn't even me, though, was it? It was. I'm sure it was little Dan who started that off.
It could have been. I can't remember. It feels like it was a lifetime ago now.
It just, you can't change. Well, can you? I don't know if you could do that. Look in your phone when you change the name of someone, maybe. I don't know where that's set to be.
What? So when I message you, it comes up as Andre?
Yeah, he comes up as Andre Gillard. Like Matt comes up as Matthew Guy II. Still, and it's never been changed back ever.
No. Yeah, there's got to be a way, some way. I'm not doing it either way.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Honestly, it's kind of thrown me the fact that it's just after 12:30 in the middle of the day rather than night time. It's really bizarre recording at this hour.
But this did happen last year, though, when George got scared of the bangs and we couldn't put an episode out because of that. So we preempted it in a weird way doing this, but for that I've had no sleep for the last 12 hours.
It's running on fumes. Ridiculous, isn't it? Yep, so QuestionCast, as normal, news, questions, all the good stuff. Starting off with the news, the first thing that I've got on the docket, now you know I'm not a particularly big Tom Holland fan. I think he does a lot of... It's not that he does bad work, he picks bad films in my opinions, but Christopher Nolan, of all people, has reached out to him, and he's going to be headlining his next film. Like, we don't know any details. There was rumours about it being something to do with a vampire, and it's going to be Tom Holland and Matt Damon starring in Christopher Nolan's next film. Holland, I think, has sort of shown that he is capable of acting. I think he's got a terrible, terrible agent who just picks really dog shit films for him to be in. So I'm excited to see what he can deliver, but this is going to be make or break for him, in my opinion.
Is it a bit like Robert Downey Jr. though, where he did Marvel stuff for so long, and he was kind of, obviously he did stuff before when he was at the Hollywood Bad Boy, but he was Tony Stark for so long, people just saw him as Tony Stark, and then you turn up in a Nolan film, in Oppenheimer, and he's amazing, and people are like, oh, he can actually act. This is what
Potentially.
My first thought was straight away. I thought, yeah, he wouldn't pick him for any other reason than the fact that he believes in him, because he doesn't do that, does he? So I think it'll be strange seeing him not do something quirky.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, actually seeing if he's got any chops and he can pull this off. Because I think, like, with RDJ, he had an Oscar before he did any Marvel stuff, and, you know, his life sort of went off the skids a little bit after it, but he had that history, and it was nice to see that return to form. But you are right, Nolan isn't a director who's going to pick someone because they're hot shit at the minute. He's going to pick them because he thinks that they're capable of doing the job. So I am excited to see what this is going to be. I do like Matt Damon as well. And obviously Matt Damon has worked with Nolan a couple of times already, so Matt Damon could be a good mentor, I think, for someone like Tom Holland, to take him through into doing something a little bit more grown up, a bit more serious. I'm quite excited to see what this is going to be. I'm always excited for a new Nolan film anyway, so fingers crossed this is going to keep up the high bar that he's set.
It's almost like he's passing the baton on that Robin Williams gave him.
It does feel like it a little bit. I feel that someone like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, they do that quite a bit. They're the kind of actors who I think are very giving in their work, especially like Affleck going on and doing directing, and doesn't always have to be the star of the show in his films. It's good to see, it really is. Tangentially, staying in the Marvel world, Blade is finally dead, maybe, possibly. We've joked about it for so long that we're never going to see this film, and it's been pulled from the 2025 slate. I mean, it was never going to hit that 2025 slate when the last news, which was probably about a month ago, saying that Mahershala Ali isn't happy with the script. It's been through dozens of script writers, it's been through dozens of directors. Why is it so difficult to adapt Blade? I don't understand it. It feels like it's the most... Like, as far as Marvel goes, Blade feels like it's a very easy bar to hit. It's the most B-movie style thing to be done. So why can't they adapt it? What's going wrong? Is it Mahershala Ali? Because he seems to be the one that's saying no to everything. Are his standards too high? Which is a weird thing to say for Marvel, which is mostly slop.
Probably. He seems a bit of a serious man. Like, you don't see him in light-hearted things ever, do you? And why he'd sign up for this kind of thing in the first place is a bit weird. But I think it's just the fact that we've had Blade done properly already. And what are you going to do if you give people a Blade that's not an 18? It's watered down.
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. What's the point? And you're going to have to then find a way of putting Blade into an Avengers film in some way, and it's not going to be the same. With Deadpool, you can do that. It doesn't really matter because you just adapt for whatever. But not with Blade. It's like, and the fact that he's fucking back anyway. You've had your time. I don't care now. The fact that we've had Wesley Snipes back being excellent anyway. There's no point. Absolutely no point.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like he fits in that well. Like, The oh god, the one they did with not Swamp Thing, Man Thing, is it? Whatever they did that black and white Disney Plus hour long sort of film, didn't they? I can't remember what it's called. Death something by Midnight.
Werewolf. I know the one you're on about because they released a colour version afterwards.
They did. I can't remember what it was called now. It was fine. He feels like he could fit into that world, and they could just do this thing that runs parallel to the mainstream nonsense, and it's just a little bit fun. Basically, I know from a DC point, you would call it an Elseworld story. It doesn't really exist in the main continuity, but it's still there. They feel like they could do that with Blade because he fits more into that B-movie aesthetic than he does into the superstar A++ $200 million budget bracket. Doesn't feel like it's that kind of a character. And seeing him line up with Doctor Strange and Captain America to fight aliens just feels really bizarre. So just leave it. I think that might be the best thing to do at this point, and it looks like that's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing with me with Justice League and the whole Batman Superman stuff, because I was so used to Batman just being in the Batman world, having that crossover with him specifically. Obviously, comics is different, but having it on film crossing over with the others was a bit odd. It never quite felt right to me, and that'd be like what Blade would be. And
yeah, I get that.
We're gonna get that. We're gonna have this with X-Men as well eventually, where it's something we haven't been used to. But at least that works because it's on a similar tone, a similar level to everything else. Blade isn't.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see how they introduce the X-Men. Because I always feel like when reading them, X-Men doesn't really fit in with that world. Because the X-world is a world unto itself. Because there's as many characters in the X-Men books as there are in all of the other books put together. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how they'll mesh it all together. But, I mean, that'll be something for future cage fighting episodes to discuss. So one of the films that has taken Blade's slot next year, we're going to talk about now. So Alien and Predator, they're going to be getting more sequels. So we'll start with Predator because that's the film that is taking Blade's slot. It is called Predator Badlands is the film that's taking its slot, and it's a sequel to Dan Trachtenberg's film, which was released 2 years ago now on Disney Plus, Prey.
Prey was great though.
Yeah, so it's a sequel to that, basically, that we're going to be getting, which is kind of interesting because I feel like Predator is not the strongest IP. We had a really good first film, and then Prey. Like everything else in the middle is kind of sludge. So I'm excited to see them build that world and try and give us a bit more backstory and a bit more like fleshing out of that IP.
Yeah, I really like Prey, and I think it was one of them where it was the big film that came out at the time at home because we had no choice, and it worked, and it wasn't low budget, and it wasn't shit, and it was actually quite entertaining and a bit different to what we'd known with Predator. So I'm glad that they're doing this rather than just yet another one of the others, just add it onto Predators and whatever that one was.
Yeah, none of them have really hit the mark, have they? So, whereas I think even we'll talk about Alien now, even the bad aliens have added something, albeit not always good, to the alien mythology. Predators didn't do that. So, in regards to aliens, Fede Alvarez, who did Alien Romulus, he is doing a sequel. No sort of idea on name or when that's going to be coming, but it's been greenlit. So we're getting an Alien Romulus sequel, which is great because Kaylee Spaney, I believe it's pronounced, I thought she was fantastic, and David Johnson, I really like him. I'm a big fan of his in the film that was out last year. Name escapes me. He's also in The Industry, which is like the British Succession almost. He's a great actor. Definitely want to see more of him. And also Ridley Scott is doing more. So we're going to be getting the completion of the David series, Michael Fassbender's character. So that is going to be called, tentatively, Alien Awakening. So if it does go with Alien Awakening rather than Prometheus, Covenant was just Covenant, wasn't it? It wasn't Alien Covenant. Is that right?
No, it was Alien Covenant.
Oh, was it? I was wondering if this was going to be the first actual tie-in, but obviously not then. Those two films are terrible, but Ridley Scott is a good director. So I'm always going to hold out hope that it's going to be good. And I do feel like that story is very much half complete. So if nothing else, just give him 100 million to get it done.
Yeah. Especially how Covenant ended. It doesn't make any sense leaving it where it was.
Yeah.
So.
Even if they could have just said to Fede Alvarez, do something that ties it off. But I suppose it's set so far after the events of that film, they probably couldn't do that. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
They do mention it, though, because they mentioned about the black goo.
Yeah, good point.
In Romulus, and we have got the Alien series as well.
Yeah, so I got that on the list. Alien Earth, that one from Noah Hawley, who did, I think he's the Fargo TV director, if I remember right. And I really liked that first season of Fargo. Well, the first 3, I think I've seen, and they've all been stellar. So that's a bit of a get, I think. And we've got the Alien Isolation game sequel as well, which I don't know if that's next year or the year after, but that's due out at some point soon. I'm never going to play it because like just watching YouTube videos of the first one terrified me, let alone the fucking game, actually playing the game of it. But that's excellent.
Did you watch the reaction footage for Outlast?
I haven't yet. I've saved a couple on my watch list after you recommended it. I just haven't had a chance to in the last couple of days.
There you go, Outlast film coming as well. Have that into the news.
Yeah, so talk to me about Outlast. I don't really know anything about that game.
It seems very much that, I mean, the game is jump scares. It's a mental asylum, I think.
Right, okay.
It's like impatience and stuff like that. But it is just a shock horror kind of. Did you ever play the demo that was supposed to be the Silent Hill thing? That one that Kojima then they pulled.
I did. I can't remember much about it now because it feels like was it PlayStation 2 that one?
No, it was 4, but it was locked.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't play it then. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was thinking of
because if you go on eBay, you can't even. It's one of them things where even if you downloaded it at the time, you can't go back on the store and download it again. It is gone completely forever.
Oh, okay, right.
So I've got it on my PS4 hard drive. Is not the original one. The hard drive that's got that game on is outside. It's in a box, just in case.
Right. Okay. That'll move. To be fair.
Not that I'm ever going to play on it anyway. But it was very much that first person. Very atmospheric, shit yourself kind of game. The complete opposite of what you would play, but it seems like it'll go the Five Nights at Freddy's route with a film of that. I don't know how you do it because of perspective and all that kind of thing. It's all a bit strange.
It sounds interesting, and it's weird because I will, as you know, I will watch any horror, but I just won't play them. So I don't know why, but I'll be there. I'll be there to give it a go. See if we can get your phone. We'll have a mate's date and can discuss that one after. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention as well. So Steve Absell, who is the head of 20th Century Studios, he said it wouldn't be in any way you think, that's the thing, not in the way that it will just be called Alien versus Predator or anything. It won't be linking to the original movies, but they will be working towards an Alien Predator crossover film. So it looks like these sequels are going to be starting building a world that will culminate with the aliens and predators in a movie together again. It just won't be related to AVP, Requiem, or anything like that. I don't know if I like that, if I'm honest, because Aliens vs. Predators was terrible. But Predators don't feel like they fit in that world. Like, one feels sci-fi. Alien, whilst Alien clearly is sci-fi, it feels much more grounded to me. And I don't really know why. So I feel like they need to do a hell of a lot more work to establish Predator as a fleshed out real IP in order to put them together. It feels like it feels like Predators is decades behind Aliens in terms of setting up, getting to that point. So I don't know if I like that, if I'm honest.
But it's always been there, though, hasn't it? Because in Predator 2, there's a alien skull in the trophy room.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but I just don't know if that's enough, if I'm honest. Like, I get it. I understand that they can live in the same world, but I just don't know if I want to see it. I feel like they need to do at least, 10 films across both to really set it up and flesh it out. Which at that point, is this just going to turn into the MCU, but with, alien creatures? I don't know. I don't know if I'd prefer them to keep it separate or what, but my first thought wasn't particularly positive on that, based on what we have seen already being awful.
I mean, you could still keep that canon anyway, because I'm sure that was afterwards.
Potentially. It's been forever since I've seen them.
But if there was that alien head in the first place, you could easily be working towards the origin story of why that was there. And if you are using Prey and the sequel and the olden times of Predator, maybe you've got something there that's a bit different to what we had before. Maybe.
I suppose you'd have to look at it as Prey being the start of it.
Yeah.
Because I think they kind of need to cut off the pre stuff, because it's just not strong enough, I think, if I'm being perfectly honest. So yeah, something anyway. We may as well keep it in that sort of world. Sophie Turner and Lucy Boynton are currently testing for the role of Lara Croft in Phoebe Waller-Bridge's adaptation of Tomb Raider. I think this is going to be another TV series rather than film series, from what I've heard early doors. And I feel like it probably fits a TV series better than a film. I think, like, from the recent games anyway, they're obviously 20, 30 hour plus sprawling epics. Whereas I don't think you can tell that story in a 2-hour film. Like, I think the last film was decent, but I think it lends itself better to actually giving it a TV series.
If you go and work for a film, you just turn it into Indiana Jones in a crop top again.
Yeah, which it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because we've got Indiana Jones, so why bother?
And we've got Uncharted. Yay. But then you do have the whole thing of Uncharted basically copied Tomb Raider, then Tomb Raider copied Uncharted, and it was the whole thing. And he got boring. We don't need another one. So having a TV series, I mean, the National Treasure TV series never worked. But it didn't have Lara Croft and it didn't have Nick Cage, did it? So that was the main problem. But there is something in that high kind of big budget adventure sprawling every week. It doesn't have to be a different one each week. It could be over 2 or 3 weeks, couldn't it? You could be going to Bolivia or Cape Town or all these far-flung places looking at artifacts and things like that. It could work really well. And especially since her background is in TV anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I liked Killing Eve, I liked Crashing and Fleabag. I do like her as a writer. I think Lara Croft does need to have a bit of levity. It can't just be super serious throughout. I do think you need to have some lighter moments in there. So, as a TV show, I would be all for it. Obviously, Sophie Turner is very much associated with Sansa Stark. You don't see her on TV and think of anything else now, as far as I'm concerned. Whereas Lucy Boynton, we were discussing before, she's got quite a few film credits and whatnot, but I don't think she's had that one defining character. So, where would you stand on this? Would you go with someone who has got this existing TV work, but is going to be associated heavily with Game of Thrones? Or would you go with someone who you can mould? It's a bit like Christopher Reeve Superman, isn't it? Do you go with someone like that, or would you pick someone like Ben Affleck as Batman, who has got the history? Where would you stand on that?
I mean, for this specific thing, thing. I think that the other one would be better. It's just because no one really knows who she is. And if it was a film and we had Angelina Jolie before, and is Alicia Vikander, is that what her name was?
Yeah.
Again, no one knew who she was, but she was great. But no one watched that film.
It's a shame, because it was a fairly decent film.
Yeah, it was all right, and it was obviously based on the new games. The original one, it was shit, but it was charming in a strange way, and you obviously had Daniel Craig as well. But people watched it because of Angelina Jolie more than anything else. So, I mean, I'm guessing you haven't watched Joan yet.
Not yet, no.
I watched
Have you started it?
First episode. She's excellent. But again, she's never going to most people, she's always going to be associated with Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You're right. But you could easily... you don't see a Stark girl in that series.
Okay.
She's very good. But yeah, I'd prefer Poynton Woman.
Yeah, I think she would probably, just purely based on the, those terms, I think I would go with someone who's a little less known, because you can make a star out of that. You can make her and Lara Croft sort of grow together, if that makes sense. Whereas Lara Croft has probably got to catch up a little bit with Sophie Turner. So yeah, I think I'd be agreeing with you there. The other story that I wanted to mention, the last one, have you seen the film that was released on Netflix, Woman of the Hour?
Not yet, no.
I watched it last weekend. I didn't realise it's actually based on true events. So it's a serial killer story, and the serial killer ended up on what we would know as Blind Date. It was basically that kind of a show. He was on there, and I've sort of heard of this story before about the dating game, they call it in the States, the dating game killer. I had heard it, but I didn't really know much about it, and this is the story of that. Very well made film. I was kind of amazed when I found out that Anna Kendrick, of all people, was the director, because she's more associated with lighter, more comedic fare, generally speaking. So to have done this film it's not overly dark, but it's very serious. Really well done. I would recommend people give it a chance. It's on Netflix. It's worth watching. So she made this film, and then at the end of the film, she felt a little bit... I haven't got the exact quote, but she basically was saying that she felt it was wrong of her to be taking money off the back of the story of murdered women. So she has donated all of her profits from directing and starring in this movie to RAIN, which is a women's charity to help survivors of rape and all the horrible, horrible things that they have to consider. So she's donated all of her profits to that. I thought that was an incredible thing, because I listened to a fair bit of true crime. And if I'm being brutally honest, the vast majority of true crime, the victims are almost always women. Like I'd say at least 75% of the cases that get discussed are women. And the more I think about it, it feels very exploitative. And you look at TV, a lot of people, like, does that money go anywhere positive at the end of it? It's all fine and well for Ryan Murphy to take his millions of dollars, but you've made your money off the back of somebody else's absolute agony, like the worst day in that person's life, or even their families. So I think Anna Kendrick making this statement is such an incredibly powerful move to have done. I really applaud it. I think more people, if your fame is based on the death of others, you should probably be doing more. And there's fucking dozens, well, not even dozens, there's hundreds of podcasts who do it. I think maybe they should be a little bit more considerate about where their fame has come from. So I thought this was just an incredibly powerful piece of news from Anna Kendrick.
Yeah. Well, it's an amazing thing to do. I don't know. Because I think if you're in her position and you can clearly afford to do this, then do it. People have got to make a living. But But the fact that she did it was profit and not all takings.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, there you go. She's made a living, and now anything else is being put towards this. And it works both ways. It highlights, it shines a light on the issues. They get the money. She looks great. Everyone wins. I don't know. I don't. Because even talking about stuff like that thing that we saw yesterday, that Nonsu got done by the hunters, one of that Wolves guy, and I saw it and I thought, well, people are going to know who he is, and I put it on Twitter. And I thought, no one said a single thing about it at all, and you can see the amount of views it got. No one said a word, and people generally dealt with this kind of thing. And I thought, was that bad, sharing this? Because when that video came into us, and I watched the whole thing, obviously. You got it. All 10 minutes of it. And he was standing there like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. And should have been, really. But I thought, yeah, it's funny because he's got a Wolf shirt on, and we all took the piss out of that Villa fan who got done wearing a Villa top. I thought, yeah, swings and roundabouts. But he probably was a bit bad. He's taking joy in these nonce hunters and the predator catcher videos, that kind of thing. That's probably a bit bad. But at the same time, it is entertainment. And so I know I get what you're saying, and I do agree. But at the same time, shining a light on these issues by making these things is also doing it too. Mm-hmm. I think it just comes down to what kind of moral compass you've got. And obviously, it's filmmaking and it's Hollywood, and there isn't a high bar there.
Yeah, very much so.
And would a bloke have done this? Probably not.
Maybe not. I don't know. I thought it was very interesting, and I think the fact that it drives people to have that conversation actually,
yeah, exactly,
is incredible. Because this is a story that happened. I did a brief look at it. This guy was doing murder and assault and everything for a long, long time. I don't think he got caught until, I think he may have even been in the 90s, and it started in the 60s. This guy was fucking horrendous and got away with it. It's one of those things, because, you know, you hear about crossing state lines and all of a sudden everything drops, when it seems like that sort of happened. Terrible, but really, it's an interesting story, and I'm really glad that he's out there now, and I think Anna Kendrick's done a fantastic job with it. Looking forward to seeing what else she can do, because this was a solid start to her career. Right, so that's the news done. Stu, what have you been watching lately?
Well, there was one, I mentioned it a while ago, this BBC series called Night Sleeper, that was basically the thing on the train. And I watched all of that, and it was actually really good. And David Threlfall, who we know, Shakespearean actor, but obviously everyone knows him from Shameless. And him having a beard bigger than yours now is quite bizarre. Yeah, he's not a tramp, and he's playing someone high up in the intelligence community and stuff like that. And it's actually really well done. And you know, with BBC things, and they used, obviously, they didn't have a Edinburgh to London train to film in, so they used the Mandalorian screens very well outside of the carriages, which again I didn't know until afterwards. And even then, you think, well, that looks really good, and they've done it. It makes common sense, really, where you're just projecting a train journey outside of a window. But you've got the natural depth there, so it works.
Makes
rather than just a green screen.
Yeah, because I do find like a lot of the volume, isn't it? The volume's the super screen brown thing. Like a lot of the time, you can tell that it's filmed on there. But actually, if you're filming in a carriage, a carriage which is next to it, you are right. You're going to get that natural depth. That makes so much more sense.
Well, I don't know if it is the volume itself, but it's a variation on that technology, and it's remarkably good. And it's on iPlayer, so it's free for everyone. People should give it a checking out. I watched the whole new series of Ancient Apocalypse as well. This time the Americas and his ever-going quest of the lost civilization. But again, the arguments he puts up, he's asking the question. He's asking a question that doesn't necessarily mean aliens. It doesn't necessarily mean deities and gods. He's just saying something could have happened, and the amount of things that he links to other things. It's really clever. But Graham Hancock's a strange man, and he's a journalist, so it is what it is. And obviously, Monsters, which we've talked about quite a bit.
Have you finished it now?
Yeah, good. I liked it, not for the reasons Matt likes it, but yeah, I thought it was all right. And then I'll watch the documentary next, like I said. But also, I did watch Terrifier.
Okay, what did you think? The first, have you seen? Which one have you seen so far?
I've only watched the first one.
Same as Stephen.
Yeah, just because I wanted to. Because it's one of these things. It's just blown up out of nowhere. It seems like. And like I said before, I'm gonna wait a couple of weeks for the third one and watch it when it's fully in the Christmas spirit and all that kind of thing. So I was sitting there. I thought, well, I'll ask him, see if he wants to. So I watched it with 13-year-old child, and I, do you want to watch Terrifier? So he went on YouTube and looked at the trailer. Yeah, okay. It's just stupid, isn't it? It's a silly film. It's the whole thing about the when she's chained upside down. I was crying. There were tears in my eyes. I was laughing that much, which is probably a bit sadistic, really. But it's so ludicrous and it's so over the top that you can't not. And I was at no point was I bored. Is it good? No, it's not good at all. It's a terrible film. It's obviously made in a certain style, and it's made to look like Driller Killer, I think. But again, I watched Driller Killer at the similar kind of age that Ethan is now, and I had the same reaction back then as I had at 12 as I do at 40. So, well, what does that say? But yeah, if like when I spoke to Josh Buckley, and he's a friend of his who plays Art the Clown, or his fraternity brother, as he described him to me. And he said that it does get better. I am quite intrigued now to see what this and to find out that it's actually not the first film. There's two others before this. Yeah, which I didn't know.
I don't know what they're called, but apparently there's like a couple of short films. I don't know how actually short they are, but yeah.
One's 11 minutes and one's about hour and 10, hour and 15.
Oh, okay.
So from not caring at all to now, I'm strangely intrigued about what this weird world is. But yeah, I don't hate it like some people do, but I do understand if you don't like it at all.
Yeah, I think my problem was that I didn't find it terrifying. I didn't find it scary. It was just gross. Which, I mean, there's a place for gross in horror, and I like when things are ridiculously bloody, but it needs a bit of something else with it, and I don't feel like it had anything else with it. Whether the sequels have, I don't know, but that first one, it did nothing for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was like proper paper-thin plotting, wasn't it? And then...
No, yeah, there was no plot, really.
Nothing at all, yeah. Anything else on your list?
I played the first half of Little Hope, part of the Dark Pictures anthology.
Yeah.
The one that fooled you.
Yeah. How is it?
If you like Until Dawn, if you like the Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls or Detroit Become Human, it's very much like that.
Okay, cool. I did like Heavy Rain. I always plan to go back and do the other versions of the story, but never got round to it.
Yeah, it's exactly the same kind of idea. You're moving around. Sometimes, a lot of the times you're using a bit like the Telltale, like the Walking Dead game as well, where you've got the choices come up, well, what you're going to say next in conversations, and you either push the right stick up, left, down, bottom, whatever, to choose whichever path you want to go down with your choice. It's a choose your own adventure game, ain't really. But it has got some jump scares in it, which a couple did get me. But this one is about the witch trials as well. So it's linking back to some kind of time issue there, going back to the witch trials. So it's
okay.
Whereas the first one, Man and Medan, was on a ghost ship. This one is, I mean, there's 4 altogether so far. This one is about the witch trials, and it's in a creepy town called Little Hope. So,
okay,
it's interesting, and you've probably got it on. You've probably got it on Plus. Apparently it's only 8 hours long, so I'm going to finish it tomorrow for the match.
That sounds super, awesome. Right, my list. Did I mention Smile 2 last time we spoke? I can't remember.
Yeah, because you said you did. Oh, well, no, you mentioned it to me that you said I didn't need to watch the first one.
Yeah, really good. Really, really enjoyed it. Probably one of my favourite horrors of the year. It felt more of an old school kind of a horror in a weird way. Great. Do you remember in Dream Scenario, the girl who tries to seduce Nick Cage and farts? And yeah, she's in it. So I'm really happy that she's starting to get bigger roles now, because I really like her in everything I've seen her in. So yeah, she's in it. She's great. The real star of the show is the main girl who, so she's a former Disney kid who apparently has got like a bit of a music career. But if I'm honest, I'm not really in that world. So Naomi Scott, I can't say I know a lot about her, but she absolutely steals this film. She's incredible as the host. The whole film pretty much revolves around her, and everything is happening to her. So she's on screen for like 95% of the movie, and she does such a tremendous job on that. It is just incredible. Rosemary DeWitt is in it. She plays the mom. So if Longlegs, she was also the mom in Longlegs. She's great in it too. It's just an all-round really good fun film. When the first film bored me to tears. Like, the first film should have been my kind of thing. It was about mental health and how, like, the system isn't really equipped to help people. And this is sort of that, but on a much grander scale. It's telling a grand story, or it's telling a small story on a grand scale. And I thought that was so much more interesting than what they did last time. And realistically, like, there's one throwaway line in Smile 2 where they reference something that happened in Smile 1. But if you didn't know it, it would make no difference, because it comes, like I say, it's a throwaway line 2/3 of the way through this film. So it makes no bearing on anything. If you've not seen Smile 1, I wouldn't recommend it, but I would recommend Smile 2. You don't need Smile 1 at all. You do need to see Smile 2. One of the best horrors this year. Properly up my street.
I know with the first one, it always intrigued me, but then everyone hated it, and I thought, oh, okay. But I actually listened to something yesterday when he was on there, and he was saying that he felt guilty because he liked Joker Folie à Deux, or whatever it's called. And he said he
available to stream now.
Yeah, he wasn't even. He said he wasn't being like contrarian or anything like that. He said he genuinely enjoyed it, and he said that is there something wrong with me because I like this and everyone in the world hates it? I thought, I've had many films like this, and Smile was one of them where the concept was intriguing to me, and I just never got round to it. And it's on Prime now, so there's no excuse. Might as well just spend an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just get it done with, just for my own curiosity more than anything else. But it does look like Smile 2. Maybe it's the whole thing. Maybe it just needs a concept album out there, like Terrifier. To then
makes sense.
Hit it with a what's the story.
So I think with Smile 1, the concept is there, the idea is there. It's just in the delivery, they didn't go far enough, they didn't go big enough, they didn't go silly enough. Whereas in Smile 2, they absolutely do. And some of the choreography in it is just incredible. It's weird as shit, but really good. If you like the first half of Trap, you will love this film.
Yeah, that's what.
And that was me to a T. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looked like in the trailer. Because I didn't know what it was.
Because it is centered around a Taylor Swifty, Olivia Rodrigo style starlet who's on her rise. It was such a blast. And I proper jumped on a couple of scenes. And I'd never jump. And even though like they weren't out of the blue, because if you watch horror, you can read a horror film. So each of the things that happened was like, I know a scare's coming, and I still shit myself. That's how good they were. So I've got nothing but praise for this film. I thought it was exceptional. I also watched, on the complete other end of the scale, I watched Sing Sing, which is an A24 film about a prison. So basically, it is a group of people who are in prison, and they set up their own drama club and put on a play. And apparently it's based on a short story called Sing Sing Follies. I really want to read this now. It was beautiful. It was so moving. It was heartbreaking and uplifting and amazing in all the same breath. Domingo Coleman, who I'd seen in a couple of films before, but I got to admit, I didn't really know much about him until this year. I think he's got a history on Broadway. So now seeing him in Sing Sing, you could 100% see that.
That's what you know.
I know he's one of my colleagues. Exceptional film. I was so moved. I mean, it's A24 and wax lyrical about them on the reg, so I would recommend everyone see it. It's one of the films of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some Oscar recognition for this, come 4 months' time. Great movie. Definitely a top recommendation. One thing I wouldn't recommend is Venom the Last Dance even. Just boring. There's just no other word for it. It was just dull. It was like a series of events happening on screen that are very tangentially linked. There's like 3 set pieces that they just sort of put a string to tie them together. It's crap. But I mean, as much as I enjoyed the second for the bromancy nonsense, if you take that out, it's just 2 set pieces strung together with comedy in the middle. And the first one was very much the same. They're just shit. Like, the whole series has been a bit crap, so don't bother. 2 last things I want to mention. So, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. We might have to do this for cage fighting because he appears at the Oscars and they showed Nick Cage in the crowd. So I don't know if we need to discuss it in more depth. Really good film, though. It was great just to see the Christopher Reeve story from start to finish. I heard so many sniffles in the cinema. You could just hear people. I mean, I was crying because it's just so moving. An incredible story of an incredible man. I think it should be available to stream on today recording, so the 1st of November. So I think I've read that it should be streaming now, so by the time this goes out. Brilliant movie, 2 hours. Lock your phone away because you need to just pay attention to it. It's beautiful. And the last one I want to mention is Heretic, the Hugh Grant film where he plays a creepy bastard. Really good movie, that is. What they did is they didn't go with jump scares. They just built up suspense throughout the whole film. And it was fantastic because of it. You would never sort of looking over your shoulder, having to hide behind your pillow or whatever you've got on your settee when you're watching it. Just a great movie. Hugh Grant is incredible. And I think he's one of these actors I've always really enjoyed, but has never really got the recognition because he's more associated with 4 Weddings and a Funeral kind of pap. Which, I mean, it's fun, fine pap, but it's never been serious acting. But I think Hugh Grant can do it all.
Yeah. When was that? Did they come out today?
Superman.
No. Heretic?
Yesterday in our world. So Halloween. It was either yesterday or Wednesday. This is currently on at Cineworld.
Yeah, for some reason, that's why I did. Because we talked about Heretic a couple of weeks ago, and I was going to go and watch it day one, and then I realised it was a Friday. Maybe it was pre-sale. Maybe it was one of them weird ones.
Possibly. I mean, there's every chance that it was released on the 31st just because it's a horror and it was Halloween.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's out now to watch, and yeah, it's worth viewing.
Excellent.
Right, so that is that. Stu, what's your question, please?
Well, Matt was talking about this a few weeks ago, that he was, I can't remember what exactly it was. It was an advert that came up and he was shocked that he had an A-lister in. But obviously when we watch the NFL and you get, there's Idris Elba ones and everyone knows anyone's in an advert just selling any old tat or insurance or State Farm nonsense. And then we obviously in the Friends trilogy that we did, we talked about Brad Pitt and everyone else who appeared. But there seems to be like this thing that it still doesn't happen that often, of massive A-list stars being in a TV show. So when it does, I've got three examples straight off that I thought of. Who is the best A-list performance in a TV show?
It's a good question. Like there's a couple, but we're going to do an episode some point this month of one season wonders. So it'll be like a series of a TV show, and just they gave us one season and it was perfect. So I want to try and avoid them personally, because I've got two that would absolutely fit into that bill. The one that I've got that I think's got proper A-listers, Only Murders in the Building, which I know it's one that we've mentioned on here previously, and I think it was our good friend David Evans who recommended this to us way back when. But Steve Martin, Martin Short, Selena Gomez. Martin Short's probably the least known of those three internationally, but he's still done some really good comedy work. Obviously, Steve Martin has got this history of mostly really good comedy work. Selena Gomez is this hot young star. This season alone, we've had the introduction of Zach Galifianakis, the woman out of Desperate Housewives, whose name I can't remember, and Eugene Levy has also been in. So they've really brought in some really good big name actors. Melissa McCarthy's been in an episode of it. Like, it's got to that point now where a lot of other people have started to jump on. This season I don't think has been quite as strong as seasons 1 and 2, but it has still been a really good, enjoyable ride. And if you like a crime story, like it's a bit of a paper thin premise, because it's always people who seem to die in this one building, which is odd, and then they go and make the podcast about it. But it's always been really fun. The stories that they've plotted out, they've never felt massively contrived. There's always like a slight little bit of tenuous link that gets you onto the next part. I think it just has to be because of this type of story. But this is something that I think is just brilliant, and it's been one of the best things that Disney have done in quite a while, especially in regards to anything live action TV work. I think it's just been absolutely outstanding. Another show that I wanted to mention is Barry. Have you got round to watching Barry yet, Stu?
I've seen a couple because Andrew Heff mentioned this on Soccer Neophytes as well a few years ago. With Barry.
Yeah,
it was a couple of years ago because it's on season 3 or 4 now.
Yeah, well, it's 4 seasons, and I think it was last year that it finished. Yeah. It's only 32 episodes, so it's not a long-running thing. It's Bill Hader, who I think his star is probably bigger now than it's ever been. And I think Barry was just as it was starting to really get some speed, starting to snowball into being into this quite a big named actor. And he's become someone who sort of picks and chooses his roles rather than just going for any old shit. He's one who only wants to do stuff that he thinks is worthwhile to him. And he is the driving force behind Barry. I believe he's the writer, creator. He may have even he's directed some stuff of it as well. Stephen Root's in it, Sarah Goldberg. Anthony Carrigan, you'll recognise him. He was, he played Victor Zsasz in Gotham.
Yeah. He
plays NoHo Hank, and he's one of the best characters that's been created in the last 5 years. Such a fun, silly character that he's done in this very ultimately serious world of a serial killer, a hitman who is former Marine type thing. He was going to kill somebody, but he ends up stumbling into an acting class and then tries to go down this acting world in order to help him deal with his repressed issues from his childhood and being a Marine. And it's super serious, but also super silly at the same time. And he does such a wonderful job at marrying the two. Bill Hader is just tremendous in these. You can tell that it was properly a work of love from him. And it's 4 of the best seasons of TV that you'll see. You'll recognise so many faces in it as well. Like Darcy Carden's in it too. You'll know her. Kirby Hell-Baptiste, who was she was Death in Sandman. So there's a lot of people in this who you'll know. So yeah, that was one that's run for 4 years. And the final one, again, it's currently started the second season, Shrinking, on Apple TV with Harrison Ford and Jason Segel. Jason Segel is the modern day Robin Williams, as far as I'm concerned. He's brilliant. But obviously Harrison Ford being in a show like this, effectively it's a comedy. It's Scrubs, but sort of grown up a little bit more, set in the world of psychiatry. It's brilliant. Jason Segel's character's wife died before the season started, and it's about how his life moves on following that death in regards to his daughter and his friends and his job, and come to terms with it all. And Harrison Ford just plays this grumpy old Harrison Ford, basically. But he's perfect for it because he was born to do that role. And those are my 3 tremendous TV shows. I think they all need to be watched.
Yeah, a few people have mentioned that one now. But again, because it's buried on Apple.
Yeah, that's the problem.
They've got all the money in the world. So their whole MLS deal, when no one's watching it anymore, even though it's on Apple and it's a great product, apparently. But no one knows, a bit like when Severance comes back. I mean, I obviously didn't watch that trailer.
No, same.
But it's got to be soon now, if they're putting trailers out. Maybe.
I think it's going to be January. I think we're going to be getting it.
That's the best time for Severance. But again, I mean, look at the people who are in Severance.
Yeah. I mean, Adam Scott. I love Adam Scott anyway, so I am looking forward to that. Yeah, great series. It's Sandler, isn't it? Is the creative force behind that?
Yeah. Yeah, so there is a few. I mean, the first one that jumped in when I was thinking of this was House of Cards. Because if you think of how revolutionary that show was back then, to have someone of what a massive star Kevin Spacey was then, before the nonsense happened, in both sense of the word.
Yeah.
and Phil Collins meme.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah. But then it died, and it was shit because of, again, it was never finished properly because of him being charged and then cleared later on. So if they went back and finished it properly, it could be one of the best shows ever. I loved House of Cards. I don't know anything about, well, at the time, didn't know anything really about American politics whatsoever. It's in a strange world of different words and things like Senate,
to be fair.
Yeah. Things like Senate that are only heard in Phantom Menace and stuff like that. But it was amazing. And the reason I watched it was because Kevin Spacey was in it. And that's the point. But again, you had Robin Wright, who's done a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And she's probably done a lot more since as well. But I think The Nadir, I presume, is the one you didn't mention, True Detective Season 1.
It wasn't, but it absolutely should have been.
Yeah. It needs no... I mean, it effectively is a one-season wonder because 2 and 4 are awful. 3's all right.
And they've all had proper big names in as well. Each season has.
Yeah. That's kind of the point of that. I mean, the stars haven't been really bad either. It's just the rest of it has been bad. But season 1 of that was like nothing we've ever seen before or since. It was exceptional.
It is good. I don't know to mention. Have you seen Mayor of Easttown?
Yeah, with Kate Winslet, yeah.
Yeah. That kind of reminded me of True Detective. Not the first season, like, particularly, but it just kind of reminded me, like, that felt like that was a season of True Detective to me.
Yeah.
Probably not quite as gritty as it, but there was some real depth to that show, I thought.
Yeah, I mentioned that to Nate when he came out. See, again, he'd never heard of it. So buried somewhere. I don't even know if it was shown here.
I think it was HBO. So if it was shown, it probably Sky Atlantic or whatever that's called now. I don't know. But yeah, that might get mentioned again in a few weeks when we do that One Season Wonders top 5, potentially. Yeah, tremendous. Right, my question. I want 4 films from you, Stu. Right, I want the best films that were released that were set in the British Isles. 1 for each country, so I need an England, Scotland, a Wales, and a Northern Ireland set film from you.
So, obviously, this is very hard for England because we are the best country. So I went down a certain route with this, but I mean, the first one that jumped into my mind was obviously England with Nell and I.
Yeah.
Because why not? I know you were just going to say a cornetto anyway, so let's just get it right out of the way. With Nell and I is probably the best film, but when I listed the other 3, 2 of the other 3, I thought, actually, let's keep it to a theme of British films set in these countries that are impactful and more true to the tone of what the areas really are. So I went with England. We're going Dead Man's Shoes.
That was on my list, to be fair.
Yeah, of course it was.
Great film. Yeah.
So if you can kind of guess where the Scotland's going with that, and it's not Braveheart. So train spotting is easy. Is the Wicker Man in Scotland the proper one? Because it's
an island off. Is it Summers Isle? Is that right? I think it's an island off Scotland.
It's an Orkney or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's been a long time since I've seen it, in fairness, but my recollection was that it was that area because that was on my long list when I was looking at them.
Yeah, because I remember there being a thing when we talked about the Cage Wicker Man film that it's not in Scotland, and Scotland's a scary enough place. Northern Ireland is obviously Belfast because that's an amazing film.
I knew you was going to say that.
Yeah, it's obvious, really. I mean, Wales. I don't think we've ever talked about this film once. Twin Town.
I've never even heard of this one, Stu, let alone spoke about it. Twin Town.
Yeah, Reese fans.
Right, I'm on IMDb.
Oh man, you will love Twin Town.
2 brothers prefer to spend time on drugs and joyriding when their father, Fatty Lewis, shows up demanding compensation.
Yeah. Don't. That's all you need to know.
Doug Ray Scott.
Yeah, from Mission Impossible 2.
I've never even heard of it.
Oh,
okay.
Pity had it on video. That's it. Well, I watched it round his house. It was one of them films because he had Train Spotting early, and he had all. I'll probably watch Dead Man's Shoes there as well, more than likely for the first time. But yeah, late 90s, I'm guessing.
97.
Yeah. Then there you go. Then because it suits because we had we used to go around his house on a Friday afternoon after school, and we used to put Fletcher in a bin and beat him and stuff. But we did. Sometimes we'd watch things, and it's a proper. It's set in a. I think it's Swansea. It's been years. It's Swansea or Cardiff. One of them. It's an absolute shithole. It's very like Dead Man's Shoes, but funnier.
I've added it to the list because I've never even heard of this. Rhys Ifans was in Venom 3. He was in it for like 4 minutes, and what the fuck are you doing here? And he was just utterly pointless. The role that he played, they could have got any chud to do it, but they got Rhys Ifans to do it. Oh, I don't get it.
I was hoping it was going to be Lizard then, and it was all going to be linked.
It would have been nice, but no, unfortunately not. Mm-hmm. Right, England for me, I've gone with Hot Fuzz because, like you, I wanted something that sort of represents the country rather than just being set there. And I feel like Hot Fuzz is a great way that they sort of linked Hollywood to small town England. They did a really good job of making everything you know about small town England, just making it bigger and like throwing it in your face. Spoke about it a lot, so there's no point in going into any depth. Scotland, like Trainspotting, tremendous film. Couldn't really argue with that. Filth as well. Have you seen Filth?
Yeah, not for a long, long time.
I really enjoyed Filth, but then I read the book and I'm like, oh God, the book is so much better than the film. I'd say if you want to, like, I would say give it a watch and then read the book. I would do it that way round, because I think if I did it the other way around, it probably have spoiled it. But yeah, great. The film I've got for that, I've got two. I've got not a silly one, but I've got one that I really enjoyed called The Angel's Share. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I think it might have been one of the first films I ever streamed. So that's how far back we go. And it's basically about this young offender who gets into whiskey drinking. This might have been because we were talking about whiskies yesterday in the group chat. And basically the Angel's Share is the portion of whiskey that evaporates once it's been, like, it's settled. And that's what the Angel's Share is, because that share goes to the angels. And these young offenders start learning about whiskey, and he becomes a better person because of his connection with a guy who's teaching him about the finer aspects. Set in Edinburgh, really good film. It's very funny, but there's like a heart to it. So it's very much my kind of a comedy. The film I was going to go for, though, is Shallow Grave.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen for a good few years, but like it randomly came on, like when I was scrolling through the other night, and I was like, oh God, I haven't seen this forever. And I did stop and pause and watch it for a good bit. I'm like, if this was earlier in the day, I would have watched the whole thing, but never mind. But yeah, Shallow Grave is such a tremendous, proper, thickly dark comedy, which again, I just love that kind of stuff where you're laughing at inappropriate stuff. That's my cup of tea. And obviously it's got a Doctor Who in there as well, which always helps. That always makes me happy.
I mean, he says a lot about Scotland, doesn't he, really? And that, yes, Muncie, just join in, just agree.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of murder, alcoholism, and black tar heroin in our choices when it comes to Scotland.
She sent me a picture a couple of weeks ago. She was in a chippy, and there was a list, and they literally will bat at anything for you.
Mm. Yeah, when I've been to Edinburgh before, they're like, we will batter whatever you bring in. So yeah, you can take any. I didn't do it because it's kind of grim, but yeah, horrendous. Northern Ireland next. Like, do you know what? Everything about Northern Ireland is the Troubles, and I get it. Don't get me wrong, but so much of it is centered around the Troubles, because obviously that is especially in the modern era, that is the defining thing about Northern Ireland, isn't it? Is the sectarianism and the issues between the one side and the other. So I do understand it. And there are some great films about it, like The Crying Game, Bloody Sunday, Hunger, Belfast. Belfast is an absolute work of art. I kind of wanted to go a different way, just because I feel like it's been done to death. So the two films that I've got, Good Vibrations. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm.
So, you know, Terry Hooley, the guy who did Good Vibrations, Record Store, and then Label, big in the punk scene, all that stuff. Terry Hooley, it's his, I think it's set in the 80s, throughout the 80s. Great movie, really enjoyed it. Nice to have that music scene involved in it as well. The other film I was going to mention is one that was released this year, Kneecap, which is information of the Irish language. I don't think I've ever seen the Irish language in a film before.
I never even knew there was an Irish language before this film. I thought they were taking the piss.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you said that you'd seen it, and I'd only seen the trailer for it, and I thought it was a joke.
Mm.
And then again,
yeah, you would.
It was on stream within 2 weeks. Yeah, really. That's it.
I feel like our knowledge in this country, the teachings of Northern Ireland in this country, is so piss poor. I feel like I probably know more about Ireland because of films than I do of anything I learnt at school.
Mm.
And I thought Kneecap did a really good job of actually talking about more than just that one period. It was a long period of issues, but you know what I mean. So yeah, Kneecap I thought was brilliant this year. I was absolutely blown away. I was expecting it to be silly, fun comedy, but there was such an important message behind it. I thought it was a tremendous movie.
Yeah, you could take that and you could take it and put it in Argentina and put it in Spanish, and it'd still probably work.
Yeah, it's to some degree, I think you are right. It's about national identity as much as it is specifically about the Northern Irish one, yeah. Obviously, you'd have to translate a fair
Yeah.
bit, but I get what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
The Wales one, I found quite hard for Wales because there aren't many films that seem to be set in Wales and actually on screen set in Wales rather than just filmed in Wales. Because they get a lot of filming stuff done there, but I don't feel like there's a lot of films actually about Welsh life in comparison to the other 4 countries within the British Isles. I don't know why that is.
Sheep can't talk. Well, that's why Twin Town came to me like that, because I thought, well, that's the only Welsh film I've ever seen.
That makes sense. The film I've gone for, have you ever seen Submarine from 2010? So it's Richard Ayoade, written and directed movie, and it's basically a coming-of-age story. It's this young, precocious, pretentious dickhead, basically. It was me when I was 15. And it's the story of him. He thinks he's so much more intelligent than everybody else, and he's a coming-of-age story. Paddy Considine's in it. I will watch any film with Paddy Considine in it. Yeah, it's got Paddy Considine and Sally Hawkins. I don't feel like it's a true British film if you haven't got at least one of those 2 people in. And, oh God, what's his name? Noah Taylor? Oh, that's going to bug me. I thought I'd written it down. Yeah, so he played Hitler. Was he in Doctor? I can't remember. He played Hitler in Noah Taylor. You'd recognise him as Hitler from Preacher, and he was in Scott Pilgrim, 500 Days of Summer, Sing Street. Great IMDb up now. I'm sure he was in those ones.
Oh yeah.
He's definitely it kind of reminds me of the British version of Ben Mendelsohn for some reason. He was in Game of Thrones as well. He's done a fair bit of stuff. Again, he's probably... Was he Australian?
Yeah.
You know, I did not know that. I always assumed he was British. There you go. But yeah, he's in it as well, plays the downbeaten father. The kid is trying to come to terms with what it's like to be a teenager. He spends his time he wants to get laid before his next birthday. He falls in love with this girl, and her mother then gets cancer. So he leaves her because he's worried that she's going to start to be all gooey on the inside. So he's a bit of an arsehole, and he comes to terms with the fact that life isn't quite what he thinks it should be, especially when you're a 15-year-old and you don't actually know anything about the world. Really good film. It's got this timeless quality to it. Like, it could be set in the early 2000s, could be set in the 1970s. They shy away from like mobile phone usage, and the only bit of technology they use is a camera, the disposable cameras, Polaroid kind of thing. That's the only thing they do in it. So he does this really good job of avoiding giving it a specific age to it, which I think works really well. And it's got Alex Turner on the soundtrack. So Submarine, I thought, was a tremendous movie. I haven't seen it for a good few years, but I think I might need to revisit it. I really liked that one. That's set in Swansea. So that was the only one I could really think of that wasn't like a fucking war film and the kids escaped to the countryside.
I mean, if that film was set today, and he was thinking of losing his virginity, he'd be queuing up outside Bonnie Blue's hotel room, wouldn't he?
Dear me. Those videos are horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And
our Indian American listeners, just look at Bonnie Blue, you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, well, it's all over Twitter, so they've probably seen it. But it's the kind of thing I feel like if men were talking about that kind of grim shit on a podcast, it wouldn't be celebrated. It wouldn't be presented in the way it has been. It feels a little bit gross and exploitative of people. And I just don't think it's right at all. Grim as fuck. Right, quick break, and then we're back to discuss Nick Cage in the Werewolf Women of the SS. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
Welcome back. So, because we left it quite late to decide on a Nick Cage film, we decided to do the fake trailer that was in the Grindhouse movie. So that was that Planet Terror and... fuck was the other film called, Stu?
Was it just
Drive something?
Drive.
It was the Quentin.
It wasn't Drive Angry. No.
No, it wasn't Drive. Why has that escaped me? Dear me, I don't know. Right, fucking mare today. I can't remember anything. Right, let's go to
Death Proof.
IMDb. Death Proof. That's the one. Have you seen? I mean, I know we've spoken before. You've seen Death Proof and Planet Terror. When was the last time you watched them? Because I haven't seen them either of them for quite some time.
Since I saw them together, I've only seen them once. And like I said before, I watched them as a double feature, and this trailer was in there, and I thought it was real.
But I mean, we had Machete like eventually, so that obviously span out to it. They could have made a film of it, and it'd have been brilliant.
Because I obviously didn't understand really back then what Grindhouse was, and I thought it's a bit of a novelty with these two films together. And I think it was a showcase in Not Cineworld that I went to see. They watched it, and you had an interval in the middle, intermission, and you had the whole thing with there was like fake curtains come across. All pretty bizarre. Obviously digital curtains, not real ones. But yeah, it was there, and I think it was there. I mean, I can't think of any other reason why I've seen it on a big screen. But yeah, I've only seen them once, and that was in the cinema where they're supposed to be watched. Almost like you would have done in the 70s when videos still exist.
Yeah. What did you think of those two films? Because it's not one of Tarantino's most celebrated movies. If anything, it's probably one of his least regarded.
I think I like Death Proof more.
Yeah.
But it's been so long. I know I enjoyed one of them more than the other. I know that was my big come away from it afterwards. But it's been so long, I'd have to watch them again. I mean, it's someone we're talking about. What we're talking about is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood the other week to someone, and I couldn't remember watching it. I thought, well, I know this could be linked to we know what.
The incident.
Yeah, the incident. But still, you think something like that, you ain't going to forget a film like that. But then the same's happened with Jackie Brown, and I haven't seen Jackie Brown for nearly 20 years. So maybe it's just a case of we're old and it's a long time ago.
Maybe. I agree. I think Death Proof was better than Planet Terror. Planet Terror's Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Director. I don't really like Robert Rodriguez. I just don't think he's that interesting, if I'm being perfectly honest. Sin City, the first one was fine. The second one was dog shit. Hypnotic was another film of his that he did a couple of years back. Like, I'm looking through his filmography now, and Spy Kids. There's not much on here that I think is really worthy of mention. I know you've got the El Mariachi ones, but I never really liked those that much. I think they're kind of overrated. So, yeah, I'm just not a big fan of his, generally speaking. This might be one of his better films, but that's not to say it's a particularly good movie. Death Proof, I thought was fine. Like, as a piece of Grindhouse cinema, B-movie stuff, it's fine. It's not Tarantino at his sharpest, in my opinion. But it's fine.
I think I might give it a pass as well, because it deliberately made to be like this? That it was made to be like a B film, a B movie?
I think it was. I think that's what Grindhouse was in the 70s.
Yeah.
I think it was two B movies put together, because in previous iterations you'd get a B movie. Well, it's where it comes from, isn't it? You get a B movie before the main feature. And I think Grindhouse was just putting together the B movies to give them more airplay, effectively. So I get the thinking behind it. I just don't think it was all that interesting. Like, I'm glad I didn't. Well, I would have liked to have seen it in the cinema just for the experience, but at the same time, it's a 4+ hour thing you're gonna have to sit through, and I don't know if it'd be worthwhile. I don't know. But obviously, some of the trailers that we got. So Machete was probably the big one that came out of it, that then spawned. We've had 2 films, haven't we? And I think they threatened a third, Machete in Space, which was fun. But I'm kind of glad they moved away from it. The first Machete is good fun. The second one, the joke has run its course, I think, by the time we get round to it. So I'm not sure we need that. But we do get Fat Steven Seagal, which is always quite fun. Like, that was interesting, if nothing else. But we had this one, which was the Werewolf Women of the SS. It was like a 3-minute one. It's available on YouTube, so you can get out there and watch it. I was watching thinking, where's Nick Cage going to come into this? Because I knew I'd seen it, but it's been a lifetime ago, so I couldn't remember where it was. And he literally pops up right at the end as Fu Manchu. I did laugh quite a lot because it's starring, was it like Sadie Zombie and all these fake stars, and also Nick Cage as Fu Manchu. And I'm like, that is such a funny joke. And then Nick Cage does this line delivery where he just screams the line so badly that I don't even know what he said. But it's very in keeping with the whole point of what this trailer is. It really tickled me. Like, it's a 3-minute bit of nonsense. Like, if that was a Funny or Die sketch, people would be raving about it, I think. It's that kind of silly nonsense.
It just made me want the film to exist.
Yeah. 100%. Like, I would definitely be there. Well, I know we're doing it, it's Nick Cage, but yeah, I would sit through that like nobody's business. I have popcorn and everything. I'd be so excited about it.
I mean, you compare USS Indianapolis to this, and it's night and day. You'd watch something, but I mean, apparently this half-hour footage was filmed.
Oh, wow, okay.
And it's never been released. So maybe one day it'll drop, as the kids say.
Well, they could do like a series of it, couldn't they? With this and Machete and like all the other trailers that they put in there. So there's a good sort of 5 or 6, if I remember correctly. It might even be more than that. But like, there's a fair bit of footage that they must have that could have been put into an anthology series that, you know, just bang it out on DVD and watch the cash roll in. I'm just trying to find, when was this film actually done? 2007. So we are in the midst of, we're not in good times here. So we had Lord of War and the Weatherman in 2005. Thumbs up. World Trade Center, The Wicker Man, Ghost Rider. And then we've got Werewolf Women. Next, National Treasure Book of Secrets. So the sequel. Bangkok Dangerous. Have we even done that? I can't.
No, we haven't. Not yet.
We haven't yet, have we? No. G-Force, the guinea pig ones, and then Bad Lieutenant. So we're back on the up. So either side of this, we've got more misses than hits in Cage's career. I do wonder where it was filmed. I wonder if they got him in or if he was just on set somewhere. Like, was he on set for Wicker Man? And they was just like, just come and do this for half an hour.
Just dress up and be even more Nick Cage as humanly possible.
It was very much what we expect. Like, it was a cartoon character of a Nick Cage performance. Albeit, I know he's only on it for like 10 seconds. But it was a mad 10 seconds, wasn't it?
It's the laugh. It's like the laugh that we saw a few weeks ago when he had that massive prosthetic nose.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, the Never on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. There's not really a lot to dissect because it's a 2.5 minute nonsense, isn't it, Stu? So
he's like, well, he's basically playing the Hood from Thunderbirds.
Yeah, that's absolutely it, isn't it? That's what he's doing. Yeah. I don't think we could do a good, bad and crazy like that. We could do a good, bad and crazy for the whole thing, I think. We have sort of done the good of it. I don't know what to say. The bad in terms is I don't think it made much of a cultural impact. It was like a massive thing for 2 months. And then it vanished. And as I said, it's Tarantino's least regarded movie. That, I think, is probably the bad for me, is that it felt like it was two people who were just being very self-indulgent.
Yeah,
which we know Tarantino has that in his locker anyway, doesn't he?
yeah, it's very clever for that kind of person.
Mm.
So I think that's probably right, though. It's a film made for themselves rather than anyone else, which I guess most are anyway, but you know what we mean with this kind of thing, because it is, because obviously we didn't grow up with it. We didn't grow up in the 70s, other than watching Shaft all the time. And knowing who these people are and this kind of style of stuff, it's not our thing. And I've only ever seen 2 films back to back, and that was it, them 2. With the thing in the intermission. But yeah, I would be intrigued to go on. I think when we do get to his last one, I think we should do them all. I mean, there's only 9 of them anyway. All the Tarantino films back to back, and do a Tarantino in review or something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing it, because it's like I've seen a lot of them, but some of them, like Reservoir Dogs, I don't think I've seen since VHS. That's how long back we're going. So that does definitely need a rewatch. So I think that's a good shout, actually. Would you recommend people watch the 3 minutes on YouTube of this? And would you recommend people watch the whole Grindhouse experience?
I mean, I sent the link to about 10 people yesterday because I'd completely forgot about it. It's something that I've seen once, and that was for 17 years ago, which is mental that 2007 is 17 years ago.
It is a bit.
And that was it. And I haven't even thought about it since. And as soon as you said it, I thought, oh, I know exactly what this is. But I never looked for it in that time. So, yeah, obviously I will. Everyone should watch it because it is funny. I'm amazed it's still on, being Nazis and the SS and the way things are, that it's still there. And it hasn't been deleted like they did with the Joe Rogan and Trump interview the other day. Which I did watch it. It was quite funny. But blah, blah, blah.
I've only seen clips, which is just clips of Joe Rogan laughing at Trump, which...
Yeah.
What can you do?
But when he was in the bin lorry...
It's absurd.
Again, born entertainer. But yeah, we go and watch this 3.5 minutes. It's funny. That's all you need to know.
Would you recommend people watch Grindhouse? Like both of them, one of them, not the other? Because I feel like I would recommend people watch... Because I feel like I would recommend anyone to watch any Quentin Tarantino film, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I know he's not for everybody, but I do think that he's one of the most culturally important people of the last 20-odd years. So I would say Death Proof, Planet Terror, I'd say give it a miss.
Yeah, I think you've got to be a bit of an auteur, a bit of a film connoisseur as well, I suppose, if you want to do the whole thing. But you've got to know what you're watching as well, because, like we said, it's intentionally shit in parts. So if you're not in on it, then I think you wouldn't get the full experience at all.
Yeah, it's shot in the style of the 70s when it would have been released. It's got that grubbiness to it, which I think works quite well for the actual movie. Like, I feel like if that was done on a modern 4K cameras and stuff, it would lose something. You need the graininess of the footage to really give it that impact, I think. Yeah. Cage good, Cage bad. I mean, he's only for a minute, but he's great, isn't he?
Yeah. It's exactly what you need, so yeah, obviously. Cage good.
Yeah, 100%. If you enjoyed the Werewolf Women of the SS, what would you recommend? I kind of feel like it needs to be B-movie nonsense, doesn't it? Would be the recommendation. Is there anything that springs to mind for you?
I mean, weirdly enough, Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah, I get that. Because the one that I thought of, if it was a Cage film, I was going to say Willy's Wonderland. Because again, it feels like it's in that sort of world of nonsense. I think if you're looking away from Cage, Rocky Horror Picture Show is big and camp and silly, and so is this little trailer. So it feels like that could be expanded. But this would make a fucking wonderful musical as well. Like I could see them doing that in here. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, again, just a big silly film. I think would probably work well as an accompaniment to, like, you could. I reckon if you went to the cinema and that was one of the trailers, the SS Women, you would be going to see something like Killer Clowns. So
Yeah.
I think that's it for me.
Or like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that'd be my recommendation. Next week, I think we're doing a music cast. Is the plan currently? It's all touch and go. The next film we'll do, Stu, because we've done a cameo today. We did a cameo with Never on a Tuesday. Let's do another Nick Cage cameo. Teen Titans Go.
Fun by me.
He's in it for all of a line, but yeah, Teen Titans Go to the movies is the next one I think we'll do. I think we'll keep it rolling. Need to get rid of some of these films in the 2010s as well. We've got quite a few of them to get through, and they look horrific. Some of them. Rage, Outcast, The Runner, Arsenal. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, right. I'll make a note so I don't forget myself. Teen Titans Go to the movies. Right, okay, so that's Nick Cage's Werewolf Women of the SS in the record books for this week. Make sure you got us on podcatchers. Make sure you got us on your podcatcher and that you don't miss an episode. If you could give us a review, that would be tremendous. For this week, Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
Yeah, goodbye everyone. Be excellent to each other.
Fuck am I going to say? Yeah, see ya.